Hello traders and investors, welcome back to the Trend Trader channel. In today's video we're gonna be looking at Sibanye. I know that there are people that are interested in Sibanye-Stillwater, and that's the reason why we are having this video. So for the people that don't know what is Sibanye, you can go to Sibanye-Stillwater.com. Then you can find more information on the stock. But in short, Sibanye, it's a multinational mining company. They produce mainly platinum group metals, as you can see there. Their investment are mostly PGMs, but they also have interest in other commodities excluding platinum group metals. They do have investment in gold and lithium, and recently they launched something that has to do with green economy. So remember that ESG is a big thing these days, so most of these companies are trying to make sure that their investors are happy by investing or making ESG investments. So it's a good thing to see that some of these companies are shifting towards a carbon neutral or carbon free world. But whether ESG is working or not, it's a story of another day. We've already seen a company like Thungela which produces coal, and Thungela has been doing very well in the past few months or so. So like I said, Sibanye, not Thungela. Sibanye, it's a multinational mining and metal processing group. We've seen in the past that the stock has done very well, which is no surprise why a lot of people are interested in this company. So like I said, you can find this information on the Sibanye-Stillwater information, right? The reason why we are making this video is because sometime this week Sibanye released an operation update on the 5th of May. That was for the quarter that ended on the 31st of March 2022. So let's go through that operating update, because this operating update, something caught our attention there. So as you can see, the update was released on the 5th of May 2022. It's a quarter update until the quarter that ended on the 31st of March 2022. And then they compared those results with the quarter of the previous year in March 2021. So the thing that caught my attention mostly was the EBITDA that they reported. We will cover that in short, but you can go through the result. You can see the production capacity there, how much stuff they produced over the year. But one thing that caught my attention was the adjusted EBITDA. Remember, we are comparing between two cycles. Let me just try to zoom out a bit so that you can see clearly. We are comparing the result for the quarter that ended in March 2022. We are comparing it with the quarter that ended in December 2021, but also we are looking at the result for March 2021, right? It's December 2021 and March 2021. So the EBITDA, it tells us these are the earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. It seems to be a significant accounting value, this, but remember the E is for earnings, so it tells us more about the earnings of the company despite all the production that happened, right? One thing that caught my attention, you can see the previous quarter, December 2021, the company reported an EBITDA of 13.18 billion, which is fine. But now if you compare this figure, you see that there's a slight increase. It's about a 500 million increase from the previous quarter to the current quarter. It's good to see that quarter on quarter the EBITDA is increasing a bit. But what really caught my attention is actually the comparison between the EBITDA of the previous year on year. You can see that in March 2021 the EBITDA was 19.8 billion compared to the current EBITDA of 13.6 billion. So here we see it's about a 6 billion decrease there, despite the fact that the exchange rate has changed slightly. Look, if you look at March 2021, the rand was trading at 14.96 to the dollar, but if you compare now with the current price or the exchange rate that they quoted was 15.22 to the dollar, right? There is a bit of change there, but I shouldn't expect so much significant change. A 6 billion decrease, 6 billion rand decrease in terms of EBITDA, right? But that is just in the financials. You can go through the company's financial statement, then you can find more information about this. But that was just one thing that really caught my attention when I saw this. And then you look at the swing in share price. Wow, okay, I didn't intend to get that one. So you look at the swing in share price. Okay, we're looking at it in the rand terms, not in the dollar terms. So you can see that the price range, it went from 49 rand to about 75. That is not to say that it increased from 49 to 75. This is just the range. The current share price is somewhere around 47 rand. So it's even lower than the quoted range. But remember, that was yesterday's price, not the price when they released the result. What you can see here is that there's a huge swing in terms of the trading range for that first quarter of 2022. And then we can see the daily average volume of shares. It's about 15 million shares that exchanges hands on the daily basis. That is good because if you are a short-term trader, then you want that liquidity in the market, because it simply means that it's easy for you to get in and out of the market if the market is liquid. Then another thing that maybe you can notice that the number of shares in issue of Sibanye are about 2.8 billion, and about 99% of those shares are in investors' hands. So the stock is very much liquid in the market. And then obviously there's more information that you can find as you go through that quarterly report, from the operating review all the way to the financials there, if there's information that you want to dig in and then find the information there. Then you can see they even report the capex, different things under financials. They have the capex, they have the annual average EBITDA. Some of these things are just projections. They are not necessarily numbers that are there on paper, but the goal of this operating update was to give operations update on what is happening in the mines, not necessarily the financials. All right, so now that we know that the quarterly update, they seem to be promising, even though I'm not happy with this. It's better that we start to look at the chart than to try and see if there are trading levels. But before we go any further, with Sibanye-Stillwater, this is the chart of the JSE top 40. Remember, the top 40 is made up of all the top 40 large shares in the JSE stock market. We can already see that the stock it attempted to trade higher. I wonder what's going on with all this thick highlight. So we saw that the share price was moving on the way up there, and then it topped somewhere around 70,000 point, and then before pulling back to about 64,000. Remember, 64,000 was previously the resistance level, and then it broke outside this resistance level. So now what happened, we saw that the share price started to pull back to this previous resistance level, which had a tent support, and then on to attempt the all share or the top 40 index, it found a support there. But this week, the week that we went past, and then the share price or the price of that top 40 index broke below that level. So this tells us that now the general market is trading at a negative territory. Remember that the general market is made up of individual companies. Whenever we see the general market starting to be weak, it means that the underlying companies are weak as well. So based on this information, then it means that now we need to stop looking for companies to buy, and then we need to start looking for companies that we can short, because in terms of momentum, at least the momentum of the at the moment is a downside momentum. So now, since we know that the general market is weak, then we can start looking at other things. Like now, if we look at the share price of Sibanye, because there are people that are really interested in this stock. They've been talking about buying this company. They want to buy it. They are so anxious. They want to find all those buy opportunities. Okay, so when you look at Sibanye, we note this previous resistance somewhere around 44 rands per share. We saw that the share price pushed all the way. I think it was somewhere starting below 10 rand per share. It pushed all the way to about 44 before that pulling back when the COVID came to South Africa, and then it broke above that level just somewhere around July 2020. So ever since it started trading above 44 rand per share, then it has maintained that share price. We can see here that the share price went up and then it pulled back to this resistance, which has now turned support before pushing all the way to about 76 rand per share. Then it hit another resistance level there. And then once again, we see the share price, it came back to this level, to this 44-45 rand region, finding support here. With that short upward move, it came back again to this level before pushing all the way up to that previous high of 76 rand per share. So we can see that now this area has been tested. At least there are some price action at twice occasions, and then also we can see this level has been tested multiple times. So this tells us that 76 rand per share and somewhere around 44-45 rand per share, that's an area of value, because the share price, it keeps on coming and bouncing at those levels. So now what we see now at the current moment, the share price, it came back again from 76 rand per share region. It came back to that 44 rand per share. So now what we're expecting to see here, at this moment we don't have a long position. We are sitting on the side on the stock, because we are waiting for one of two scenarios to play. We have already mentioned that 44 rand or 45 rand has been an area of value. We can see that it is a support level. So the ideal case scenario is that Sibanye-Stillwater, it rejects the lower prices. Then we see the share price pushes all the way up back to 76 rand per share. That is the best case scenario. Remember, for us to see that there is a lower price rejection, we need to see the candle, which has the upper body in the upper level, and then we see a small wick there, and then we see a large green candle, which will tell us that the buyers are now back, the buyers are in control. Then we can see Sibanye-Stillwater pushing all the way to 76 rand per share. But remember, we showed you the chart of the JSE top 40, which shows that the market is weakness. So we cannot only expect just one positive scenario, we should also prepare ourselves for a negative scenario. So this is the scenario that it's an alternative scenario in case the stock market, or in case Sibanye-Stillwater does not move all the way up. As you can see here, this level, it's an area of value. So if the share price come and breach and close somewhere below 44 rand per share, let's say maybe 43.50 or 43, and then it reject those higher prices there, and then it print a large red candle. The red candle doesn't necessarily has to be this dramatically large. If you look at this red candle here, you can just easily plot a line. Anything that is above this, it's an above average volume, trading volume on the day. So as long as that candle is above the typical average trading volume, it means that we see an above average level there. Then we expect that we see that it's an action that is being pushed heavily by the market. So once we see the share price breach below 44 rand per share, then we can start looking at other potential support level. We can see here this 32 rand per share, it's a potential support level. But also remember the low of that COVID somewhere around 16 rand per share. So let me just remove the other drawings there so that you can see a clear picture. So we can see here we've got an interest somewhere around 32, and then we've got the low somewhere around 16. So the worst case scenario is that the share price, it breach this level, then it goes straight to this 32 rand region, or maybe it break below this level, it comes back and retest it before pushing all the way to 32 rand per share. So as a trader or an investor, you'd want to wait and see where the price action take us. We don't want to just jump the gun and start buying here because we're anticipating that the share price is going to go higher there. You have to wait. You will have to wait a bit for confirmation. Then once you get that confirmation, you can act on that. Right? So while we are still looking at the worst case scenario, I've mentioned that if the share price comes to this level somewhere around 32 rand per share, it's also possible that it can breach that level. If it does, it can also go to test this level there at around 16 rand per share. But these are the worst case scenarios. You should prepare yourself, meaning that if you happen to buy at 44 rand per share, then you need to have a stop loss just below maybe 42 rand, 40 rand per share, because that means that the downward momentum will be continuing. Because if it goes to 32, then you will be losing around about 20 rand per share. And then if it also breaks that 32.28 region going all the way to 16, then you're still going to be losing a lot of money. So you just need to have that stop loss at all times whenever you are buying, because whenever we are trading or we are investing, we need to take the price action into consideration so that we can plot our levels of interest and how we will respond should the market go into those levels. I understand that people can be skeptical to say that the share price can't just go up and then it start to come back to its previous lows. Then I understand if that you think that it's a scenario that is less likely to happen. But in case you are thinking like that, I just want to show you or to point you to a chart where this actually happened. So if you look at the chart of Disney is a American company. They do a lot of TV shows. Then from this you can see that from this period between 2020 March, when the market started with that coronavirus reaction to the coronavirus, we can see that Disney was trading somewhere around $80 per share. This was the low of that coronavirus. It was $80 per share. Then the share price pushed all the way going to about $200 per share. But you can already see that the share price is now nicely on a round trip. It's currently trading at $110 per share. It is sitting at this support level. If that level gives in, then you can see the share price coming back to that $80 region. Then you can start to think that this is a hand-pick example to tell the story, but you can look at another company, or in this case it's not a company, it's an ETF. Some people have interest in this ETF. It's called ARK Innovation ETF. We know that the ETF has done very well for some investors. Unfortunately, some investors are not comfortable with using the stop loss. As a result, they've gave back their profit. Again, we see the low of that COVID before the price push higher, breaking above this previous resistance level somewhere around $60. And then the share price of the ETF, or the net asset value of the ETF, it topped somewhere around $160. And then we can see now that the share price is currently coming back to where it started before the COVID. So round trips, it does happen. Your goal as a trader or as an investor is to only be involved with the stock while it is going up. You have no business to be involved with the stock as soon as it starts to show these weaknesses. So this is what I wanted to share with you today with regards to Sibanye-Stillwater. Just a quick recap on Sibanye. Remember that we first looked at the general market weakness. We mentioned that the JSE Top 40, which is the large index in South Africa, it's already showing signs of weakness, and for that reason we are now looking for short positions or short opportunities rather than long opportunities, because we've seen that with the US, when the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, they started to point down, most of the positions that we were taking on the long side began to fail. And then we looked at the chart of Sibanye-Stillwater. We mentioned two potential scenarios that you need to be aware of. If the share price reaches this level, then you can start to look for buy opportunities somewhere around 44, 45. If you expect that the share price is going to push all the way further up to 76, but the opposite of that scenario is that the share price will drop lower, and then it can either go to somewhere 32 rand or 28 rand, or the worst case scenario is that it can go to 16 rand per share. Whichever scenario plays out, you need to prepare yourself for that, because nobody really knows what is going to happen there, but you just need to work on that. One thing that you need to keep in mind, I can understand that you can say that Sibanye has been paying good dividends, and I mean, it's true that the business has been profitable. But if you look at a company like Meta Platforms, we know that it's a big company, it's sitting on cash. If you look at the share price has been tanking. Yesterday we saw that Facebook started to say that, or some, not necessarily Facebook, some of the tech names, they said that now they're going to start to freeze new appointment, meaning that those businesses are not planning to employ people, at least in the short term. So that can mean a lot of things. It's either those businesses are starting to feel the strain in their business operations, but time will tell. From my side, I'm just a guy that uses technical analysis in order to see where can I start to attack the positions that I want to take in the stock market. I will never take a position purely based on fundamental analysis. I first also need to look at the chart in order to identify the path of least resistance. So, okay, one thing that I forgot to mention about Sibanye-Stillwater is that someone who's an experienced trader, way experienced than me, he mentioned that this could be the potential double top. For those people that are not familiar with double top, it's something that looks like this, right? So whenever you see the share price go up and then it pull back and then it go up again and then it comes back, it pulls back, then what you can expect is that now it has formed this level here. Once the share price break above this level, it will start to go lower. Then depending on the length or the height of that double top, if let's say for example this is the height of the double top, then we can also expect the share price to drop by the same equal amount. So I wouldn't wish that to happen with Sibanye, because that will be devastating, especially for the investors that bought Sibanye above 76. Even the people that want to buy Sibanye at 46 or at 44 or 45 rands per share, if indeed this is a double top and it work out, then most likely we are going to pick Sibanye somewhere around 16 rand per share. So you should really prepare yourself for this. Remember, as a trader, I do not predict where the market will go. I only react to where the market is going. If the share price trade below $40 rands per share, for example, then it will mean that the share price it's dumping, it's going up. But if the share price maybe managed to start trading above 52 rand per share, then that could imply that the share price is ready to go up. But between these two levels, let's say 40 and 52, then I won't have a position, because it means that the path of least resistance hasn't been established. So I'm just gonna end this video here, because I don't want it to be a bit longer. So make sure that you go to Sibanye website, you find that operation update, you read it so that you can satisfy yourself with whatever is happening in the organization, and then you can then look at the price levels there, do your own charting, so that you can be satisfied with whatever that you find there. Especially if you have an opposing view to what I've just shared. And I will also be interested in your view on Sibanye. You can leave that in the comment section. And if you found this video useful, please consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed to the channel. And if you enjoyed or if you found this video useful, please like it and please share it with as many people as possible. And that's it for today. I will see you on the next video.